Hey, you freaking Beatuses. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series number 4 Deluxe Class Autobot Ratchet from Transformers. This is a deluxe class, it's $20, which makes me a little bit upset, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Here you can see his main contents, excluding his backdrop, because that's a bit big, and I'll get that later. He has his instructions, which, are standard. Build the cast, Bumblebee, Decepticon Stinger, and Crowbar. Lovely. He comes with the very first time we've ever gotten just his saw blade. We did get very close to getting a saw blade, and that was the Dark of the Moon Ratchet's mech tech weapon, but it was only part of it. It transformed from a gun to his saw blade. So yeah. So this is based off of his look in Transformers and, Revenge of the Fallen. But it's Transformers. It's Transformers Ratchet because, as you can see, his display stand says Transformers. It's kind of boring, for a size comparison. Here he is with the Dark of the Moon Deluxe, which is a smidge smaller. He is a smidge smaller than the Dark of the Moon one, but this one actually turns out being taller in robot mode. Of course, these are based off of different looks. This is based off of Dark of the Moon and, I guess, Age of Extinction, if you want to go that far. Rest in peace. Type F in the chat. So yeah, they're about the same length, looking at it. They're very similar in transformation, I will say that. The big differences are the legs. His feet, instead of becoming the top of the Hummer, they actually fold away inside, and then this whole section becomes his backpack. And his feet look a lot better due to that. I really don't like how his mech tech, well, I guess his 3mm ports are right in there, so you can put the saw blade on. I wish it was more of a clip instead of a millimeter weapon. But this, he just held that weapon originally, so with his hands. I still don't like that his hands are very visible. On the original Dark of the Moon mold, they weren't as noticeable because they're a bit more blocky. These ones are a lot more, robotic-ish, I guess, and now they stick out, which I don't really like. No painted wheels, but then again, the original Ratchet didn't have painted wheels. Here's the original Ratchet, and this kind of blows my mind, okay? This was a $20 figure in 2007, and this is a $20 figure in 2018. I like the vehicle mode a lot more on this. The color is a lot more screen accurate. He was a lot more muted. Then again, we have not gotten a really perfect match for color, thanks to Hasbro, for Ratchet. This is too neon. This is more of a Devastator yellowish green, and then this is a much more olive green. If this was like slightly lighter, or this was slightly darker, we'd have a perfect Ratchet. The closest we've ever gotten to a movie-accurate paint job was the metallic Best Buy version of this, and, yeah. This is still kind of frustrating because the price, I don't know the inflation rates on this, but I think it'd be 2% every year. I will put a screenshot of the inflation calculator right here. Okay. Comparisons out of the way. Whatever. Also, both of them have painted. The deluxe versions have painted windows, but the Voyager one does not. But this one probably has the best back section, because you've got painted windows and a painted section down here, whereas this is just painted windows and then doors here. while this is painted down here and there's no windows up here. So this is the best balance. Yeah, let's take a look at his display stand ball. I can't see it. It's number 4, Studio Series Transformers, and then you have Mission City just being decimated. You can put Ratchet in his Hummer mode right here, because he is a Voyager. I mean, he's a deluxe and he's smaller, so you can still put him on the stand in vehicle mode. So without further ado, let's transform him. So the first thing I like to do is kind of loosen up this section here. Now this can be a little finicky. You're gonna want to pull out the sides here, but very quickly, because we don't want this rubbery plastic section to bend. It's kind of looking like an explosion. Pull open these flaps here, just like the Dark of the Moon version, and then pop this section up, and then untab it from the windshield section and move it a little bit further. Then you can pull out his legs all the way, and then his feet are in a hinge, and then just bend it down. Rotate the feet so so the bottoms are facing up, and bend them down like so. Stand him up, and he's got loose legs, unfortunately. Fold in this section here and fold in that. Now come up here. Now this is kind of like the Dark of the Moon, but it's a bit different. Instead of having to turn the whole section and then just turn the grill, you only have to turn this middle section here, which I do like. That's a nice touch. Now the spare tire section here. Oh geez, it's all blurry. Spare tire section just pegs into the back of his waist. Back a little bit because he gets a little bit tall. There we go. Fold his arms down at the elbow and kind of pull back those sections here. You're going to invert the tire section here outwards. And now the shoulders are a bit different. You're going to want to pull them this way, and then there's a little tab right there that will go into this peg. So just tab that in like so, and make sure the shoulders are locked in place like that. Stand them up, bring down this little bumper section like the Dark Moon, and rotate his head around. There you have Studio Series Ratchet in his robot mode for the most part. He looks pretty good. He's a little bit bigger than the other deluxes. I don't have Stinger out right now. He's on the shelf still. But he looks pretty good, you know. You can peg his saw blade in. I would really have rather him had his gun. I think it was an EMP blaster, but that might have just been the Nest toy. I wish he came with his gun though. We've never gotten a Ratchet with his gun. We've gotten a mediocre saw blade, but now we have a nicer saw blade. But he only used his saw blade once in the entire 4 movies he was in. Every movie he's in, he uses his gun. He only used his saw blade for like 3 seconds when he cut off Brawl's arm, which this kind of would make sense because he's a Mission City figure and Brawl's a Mission City figure, so I guess they want you to recreate the scene with Brawl where he goes but that was awful. But I really wish they had done that, and they didn't, so it kind of sucks that they didn't give him the gun. He uses it for the majority in the movie anyways. He's shooting at Brawl with it. He has it multiple times in Revenge of the Fallen during the post scene of the forest fight when he and the other Autobots show up. It's kind of I'm disappointed that they didn't give him his gun and they rather gave him his saw blade. But what the frick are you gonna do about it? Nothing. That's why. That's why. So for a size comparison of a Studio Series figure, here he is next to Leader Class Blackout. And Blackout looks pretty big compared to him. But Blackout is actually the smaller leader of the wave. He comes out to about his waist. So, another gripe I have is the amount of paint he has on his face. Nowhere near compared to the nicer paint on the Dark at the Moon Deluxe and the original Voyager, which I will show you in a second. Okay, time for some size comparisons. So here he is with the original Ratchet, which is huge. He is a beefy guy. He's the same size as Leader Class Blackout. But as you can see, there's a big difference. In terms of paint and just proportions. Now, he does have kind of blocky legs, whereas this one is kind of skinny, which he kind of was. He was a skinny guy. This doesn't really reflect how he looked in the movie, but he's still a nice-looking robot, and he's kind of a nice example of original Voyagers, you know, from the 2000s. Looking at the head sculpt, as you can see, it looks quite nice compared to that one, where the only paint he has is in his eyes and on his nose and mouth. Whereas this one was smart, and they used plastic instead of paint for his eyes. So they were able to spend money doing stripes right here, doing his beard and nose, and he's got even some highlights with silver in there. That looks pretty good. Then again, it kind of sucks that he doesn't have... Oh, shoot! I keep dropping the camera. Kind of sucks he doesn't have these nice headlights, or the bar lights right there. You could sort of hash that together by pegging on his lights right there, but you can't really see them. His shoulders are still nicer. He didn't really have wheels in his shoulder. They were kind of behind them, whereas this one, they just put them next to it, which I think looks a smidge nicer than what they've done with previous Ratchets. Like, here's the Dark of the Moon. This is basically a big comparison video, but honestly, though, this one probably has... He's got these weird low arms, and then he's got stocky legs and a weird waist, whereas this one kind of is a nicer looking version of this, albeit lacking paint apps. He is probably the most posable of all the previous Ratchets. He's got two elbow bend. He's got an upper bicep bend, and then he's got a bend at the elbow, a swivel. He can't, let's see, he's got ball joints at the shoulder, and then he's kind of got a butterfly joint if you unpeg it there. Head rotates 360, but it's kind of tight, so you can't tilt it that well. He's got nothing at the waist, which is kind of unfortunate. He's got ball jointed thighs right there. He's got a bend at the knee, and then he's got ball jointed ankle, and then you've got a kind of a joint right there due to transformation. So that's kind of the only posability you get out of him, but it looks really cool. I'll do the pose that's on his box art right now. And this is actually really kind of amazing how much he can bend. So there you go, you got him standing on one leg. That's pretty amazing. Bolt Matrix also said in his review, he can do kind of more angular bends thanks to his third leg, thanks to his backpack here. You can unscrew that if you want, so it is removable quite easily if you have smaller screwdrivers. But yeah, that's kind of it for articulation and posability. One last thing, he's got his backdrop, which looks like Mission City, and they've got the F-22s in the back there, which is nice. I don't exactly remember how many are in the scene. I'll have to rewatch the movie and find out if any of those are Starscream, because Starscream, I believe he shares this backdrop, and it would be kind of strange if you have the figure displayed right here, and then you have him up there. So, shoot! I'm dropping this camera more times than a teen mom has dropped her baby. Oh my goodness. So, there you go. There's Ratchet on his display stand. And without it. So, as always, don't believe the news. Don't believe the hype. Spaghetti out.